Nadja Fertasi, welcome to the Global Project Management Forum. Is this your first time here?
It's my first time here. It's my first time here in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. Yes.
I want to ask you, what do you think conferences like this how do they help and how do they contribute to the evolution of project management?
When we look at project management from a functional perspective, it's often very much focused on ticking the box, functionalities, processes, technologies. But now project managers are actually the leaders of the future, which is now, right? Because when we look at artificial intelligence and how it's shaping industry, there are many ripple effects across the project's life cycle where they need to get people on board, they need to drive people to continue, they need to help upskill, they need to be aware of several risks, cyber, stakeholder engagement, reputational, legal. So it seems like a lot, and this forum provides an excellent opportunity to exchange ideas, to learn how to upskill and to become the leader the vision of 2030 of Saudi Arabia needs in order to thrive in a digital age.
There's something that you said that I thought was so interesting. Everybody talks about artificial intelligence. Some argue that it's going to complement humans and it's going to complement project management. Other critics will say, no, what if it erases what project managers do and takes their place? Who do you think is right and why?
So it's a very interesting question. In my keynote this morning, I touched upon this because I'm upskilled myself to develop AI applications to teach emotional intelligence. I wanted to see how intelligent the system is. And from my perspective, we are nowhere near a time where AI will replace people. However, the people who won't be able to maximize AI's potential, how to prompt it, how to work with it, how to use human consciousness, critical thinking, design thinking, emotional intelligence for cultural sensitivities, for local and regional sensitivities, they will actually be left behind. So it's not so much the paradigm of will I be replaced by AI, but how do I upskill so I maximize human potential with AI. That's the future, and that's the question we need to be looking at.
I have so many questions to ask about this. I'll keep some of these offline, but I do want to end with one question on Saudi Arabia. You said this is your first time, you know a bit about Vision 2030. Obviously, the kingdom is going through unprecedented evolution, change, transformation. What do you take away from Saudi Arabia, and what do you take away from this conference as you leave?
What I take away is that Saudi Arabia's vision is bold, is big, is amazing in the sense it imagines the impossible and then creates it. That is leadership. And I definitely think it's on the right track for investing in human potential. It recognizes that the vision without its people, that's carrying it forward, that's the critical element. Investing in AI, yes, but also investing in human potential. And this is my biggest takeaway from this conference. It's very forward-thinking and let's build, right? Let's not just talk, but let's build and let's do this. It's pioneers, imagining even what is not created yet.
Imagining the impossible and creating it, yeah?
Exactly. That is the future. That's how we evolve as a human race. It's not leading by fear, by transforming fear into courage.
I love that. I'm actually going to quote you on that and use it probably on LinkedIn. I think a couple of things that I think is interesting with what you mentioned. You said you gave a talk this morning. Can you tell us a little bit about the talk and why you decided on the theme of your talk?
I gave a talk about AI in driving human potential, but not as a technology. So to shift our mindset. So what I talked about is how do we build and develop project leaders, because you can't manage people. You have to lead, guide, and inspire them. And I presented this idea, there are skepticals who say AI will make us less intelligent. I argue that we can use AI to make us more emotionally intelligent, safeguard and maximize our human potential in digital age. To stop seeing things in binary mode and. How can we use AI to imagine the impossible and then create it? Right?
Can you I want to ask you about EQ in 1 second because Thrive with EQ is your company. Can you give me a concrete example where you think AI can complement what we're doing in project management?
For example, when you're working on mega projects like that really require precision, precise calculation, data prediction, multiple scenarios, there is where AI is your ally because it can analyze vast amounts of data and create multiple scenarios to prepare you. Where emotional intelligence comes in and where the human touch comes in is how do you manage your stakeholders from the get-go, not from when crisis hits or problem hits. How do you manage the human potential to keep going? Because everyone is motivated in the beginning of a project, but with challenges, you need to develop even more than discipline. How do you get people inspired and devoted to go all the way when emotions are running high, right?
So I'm hearing from you, and I really, really like this, and then I want to talk a little bit about Thrive with EQ. What I'm hearing from you is that AI could be used for data analysis. Obviously, it's quick to kind of group data, but then when it comes to relationships, that's where emotional intelligence plays in. When you talk about stakeholders, it's basically who you're dealing with on a day-to-day or on a month-to-month, and that will be the human aspect that should be kicked in, right?
Because one of the scarcest resource we will face, and we are already facing, is lack of trust. AI cannot build or generate trust, right? Humans can do. People need to feel safe in order to trust you. And here's where we have to be very careful, because if we use AI to avoid the emotional discomfort of having human-to-human relationships, to tackle the hard stuff in projects, to have the difficult conversations, then we risk a lot of project failures because we didn't do the hard stuff that requires human-to-human. So it's thinking about it in a way of amplifying. AI is a co-pilot, it's a means to an end, but it doesn't have the consciousness, the heart that people have to imagine. It can imagine the impossible, but only people can actually create it in a human way.
Thank you for this, because everybody should know about this. I think there's a lot of talk about AI, there's a lot of fear surrounding it. So I think your point on trust is spot on. Thrive with EQ.
Yes.
All right, how did this happen? What's the mission? Tell us a little bit about it.
I come from a background in NATO, almost 2 decades, well-conserved dinosaur. And one day I just hit the floor. I was burned out, I lacked motivation, I lost any will for going. I'm a mother, so I had to keep going. I said, I'm going to build something that is aligned with who I am, to help people thrive on the inside, right? And I created Thrive with EQ using my experience in crisis, using my passion for people and emotions, and helping people become more resilient in a world that is increasingly digital. That was before COVID. And then COVID hit, and then I pivoted to cybersecurity because criminals are using emotions to scam people, our children, our businesses. So I'm teaching also people how to manage their emotions in order not to react on impulse, on fear. And then with AI, I actually am building how can I scale this so people actually remain human and understand how to regulate their emotion in a digital age by using the very tool that we fear. I'm using it myself, and it's not necessarily to be fearful of. Like I said, it's nowhere near a point where it will replace an actual human being, but it will replace people who are unable to think critically, who are unable to become comfortable being uncomfortable, right? So it's that upskilling that is necessary. So Thrive with EQ was born out of pain, and I turned it into purpose, because I want to leave this world having done my part to ensure we will remain human first and foremost.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was lovely. Nadja Fertasi, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.